Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, my international friends, joining me on Joker Day. That's right. It's Joker Day. Joker opens up today. Now, for some of you, some of our international friends, you may have already had a chance to see it because it's opened a couple days early in some other markets. But I'm going to go get to see it today. And joining me to go see it today is Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing, sir?
John, you know, I'm really excited. I feel that society has wronged me, and it's nice to see a film about somebody that I can identify with and want to be like when I get older.
Yes, you are the poster child of all the people who've been crying about this thing. And of course,
me.
Also joining us today on a Thursday is Chris Carr is here. Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm decked out in all my Joker stuff. I've got my Killing Joke jacket on. I don't get to go with you guys, though, and I'm sad.
Yeah, you booked a gig today.
I did, which, you know, work is good, so that's nice. I'm going to go do a voiceover instead. But now I don't get to talk to anyone for like 48 hours because I have to figure out when I can see this movie now.
Yeah, you don't want to get spoiled. Although I feel like this isn't one of those types of movies that is like big spoiler. Like,
That's true.
Unless Batman pops out of a car near the end, which we know is not going to happen
Just
anyway.
a little infant Bruce.
It's just a little infant
baby
Bruce.
Bruce.
No, I'm going to be Batman. I don't know. It will be interesting to see. I hope a lot of you guys have your plans to see Joker. And by the way, just to let you guys know, Sunday, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time is going to be our full open Joker spoiler discussion here on the channel. If you have a chance to see Joker by Sunday afternoon, that gives you guys Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the first part of Sunday to go see it. Then make sure you guys come on and join us. We're going to have a full open spoiler discussion about Joker on Sunday afternoon. I hope you guys can join us. And speaking of joining us, don't forget, guys, for those of you who are Patreon supporters and members of the Discord server, about, you know what? I take it back. There is no post John Campea Show open chat today. You guys can go in there and chat amongst yourselves. But because it is Joker Day today, and I'm going to go see it this afternoon, I'm not going to have the time to do that. So I was about to say, come join me for the post chat, but I can't do that today. But by all means, guys, you guys go in there and chat amongst yourselves. All right, listen, we got some main topics here to talk about today. But before we do, we got one thing we're going to talk about off the top, and that thing is this. One of the questions that has been surrounding, Star Wars ever since the new film started with the launch of The Force Awakens, which I love, by the way, has been the question of Rey. Who is Rey? Everybody from the ideas of Rey is a clone of Palpatine. Rey is Obi-Wan's granddaughter. Rey is Luke's daughter. Rey is Dark Helmet's brother's sister's cousin's former roommate, which of course makes her nothing. A lot of people have had a lot of different theories. Now, I'll tell you straight up here. My position on Rey has been since the first time I saw The Force Awakens, and you guys who've watched me for a long time, you know this is the case. After viewing The Force Awakens for the first time, I came out of the movie saying, she's not related to anybody. I believe the movie made it extremely clear that she is not related to anybody. That's the key. And my whole point was always, look at the history of the Jedi. The history of the Jedi going back thousands of years has never been about lineage until Skywalker himself came along, but it's never been about lineage. It's been about a child is born who is force sensitive, the Jedi identify them, take them in for training, blah, blah, blah. That's how it has always been, and that is what I've always said. Anyway, then we saw episode 8. Rian Johnson makes it clear that her parents are nobody. Some people complain that was Rian Johnson retconning what JJ intended to do, but JJ always intended for her parents to be nobody. Daisy Ridley herself confirmed this when she said in an interview, what they did with Rey and that with her parentage was what I was told from day one of shooting Star Wars movies is what they were going to do. So there's that. However, that has not stopped a lot of people from wanting to speculate about could they go in a different direction? Could they have her connected to somebody? Well, apparently, Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, is going to address the question of who is Rey. One of the writers of the film, Chris Terrio, in Empire, he said the following: who is Rey? Which is a question that people not only wonder about quite literally, but wonder about in the spiritual sense. How can Rey become the spiritual heir to the Jedi? We keep coming back to who is Rey? And how can we give the most satisfying answer to that, not only factually, because obviously people are interested in whether there's more to be learned of Rey's story, but more importantly, who is she as a character? How will she find the courage and will and inner strength and power to carry on what she has inherited. And that, of course, comes from the writer of the new film, Chris Terrio. An Academy Award-winning writer, by the way, just so we all know, as a matter of fact. An award-winning writer. All right. So, Rob, I think there's a couple of ways of looking at this. I think I know which way you look at it. I think I know which way a bunch of people look at it, but let me tell you the way I look at it. I think Chris Terrio in this statement has made it pretty clear. People who are looking for a she's Luke's daughter revelation ain't going to get it, because in that statement he kept emphasizing, no, the important thing is, who is she spiritually? Not about her lineage and all that kind of stuff. And I think there are still going to be people, even though I contend that from The Force Awakens on, they made it, at least to me, clear that she's not of a lineage. She doesn't need to be of a lineage. For somebody to have worth in a movie, they don't have to be the daughter of a king or anything like that. And I believe I read this statement, and I don't think it changes anything. But, I mean, there is some of the way that he's worded it that if somebody wanted to believe that they're going to reveal that Rey is actually related to somebody else in more of a tangible way, you know, I think there's some wording in there that I wouldn't call you crazy for looking into it, but I don't know. That's how I read the statement anyway, Rob. You've seen the statement. You're familiar with Chris Terrio's work. What do you think he's meaning by this?
I just keep thinking that Palpatine should show up and say, "A girl is no one." Maybe not. Perhaps not. That wasn't very good, Palpatine. Sorry. Look.
I mean, if Benioff and Weiss were doing this one, maybe that would have been a thing, right?
I think that actually it gives me hope reading this statement, because Chris Terrio is saying that, look, her lineage isn't as important as who she is as an individual. And if they're going to explore her beliefs or where she came from in terms of the universe as a whole, or the Force as an entity, the living Force, I'm all for that. That's the kind of thinking that I want from this trilogy. And as I've said, look, I've been hugely critical of J.J. Abrams and The Force Awakens, and I've said on the show, I want this movie to be great. And when I hear the writer talking this way, well, it gives me a new hope.
I see what you did there. Chris, you're hearing these phrases and these words and so when you look at what he said specifically, what do you take away from that? What do you think it is we're going to see in The Rise of Skywalker as it pertains to the personage of Rey?
I mean, I feel like this statement kind of squashes our clone theory and the rise of Skywalker's clones popping up everywhere, and that makes me sad. I really did want a Terry McGinnis sort of situation here of her having some Skywalker DNA. But that being said, I do think it's interesting to focus on who she is as a person, what she has to deal with now in this Jedi society that sounds like it's going to be restructured, right? We've had Last Jedi, we're doing Rise of the Skywalker, we're figuring out what Jedis are going to be at this point now, especially at the end with that little kid moving that little broom. Oh my gosh, are there more Jedi? What? It's crazy. I think the thing that a lot of people are kind of sinking their claws into is that last little sentence with inherited. I think people are viewing that in a very literal sense from what I've seen online, of people really still clinging to that and hoping that she still is literally inheriting something, that she is destined by lineage to get something. And I don't see it that way. I think her parents are nobodies, like everyone has said.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that's where but I'm still open to the idea of the clone theory.
Yeah.
I mean, that is, number one, it's pretty consistent with the Star Wars universe. Cloning has been a part of the universe. It cherry picks out at least some thematic things out of the expanded universe Star Wars Legends stuff that is no longer canon, but, they've said the writers are free to cherry pick that stuff out. Yeah. I'm not opposed to that. I just always hated the idea, ever since The Force Awakens came out, of this notion that for anybody to be anybody, they've got to be somebody's kid.
Yeah.
And I've never bought into that. You know what I mean? It's just like the kid at the end of The Last Jedi with the little broom, right? I saw so many theories of, he's going to be a central character now in the last movie. It's like, no, to me, what that symbolized at the end of the last movie was just the Force is doing what it has always done. It's bringing balance to the galaxy. It's manifesting itself in certain individuals and children as they're born, and there you go. There's one of them, an example that the Force is still doing what the Force has always done. It's been reawakened. But we tend to look a lot more into things. And look, I'm not going to fall out of my chair in total shock and surprise if, Force Ghost Ewan McGregor pops up in front of Rey and says, Rey, your mother was my love child, and I am your grandfather. I mean, I go, well, that's lame, but I'm not going to fall out of my chair in total and utter shock and surprise. But it's just, I feel like they have made it very clear from day one that she is a product of the Force, just like thousands of generations of Jedi before her. But I don't know. I think there's still a lot of people that are going to be very upset if they don't come out and say, you are Princess Vespa of,
Dark Helmet's her dad.
Yeah. I mean, if unless they say she's like kind of related to somebody, I feel like there's going to be a lot of people that are upset.
I don't understand that at all. Why does everything have to be a Dickensian-esque story? Why does everyone have to be connected? It makes everyone so much less interesting. If you are an individual who has risen up from adversity and has something special about you just for because you exist, that's so much more interesting than, well, my parents were also really, really cool, and they were important in this other trilogy, so here I am.
Love that literary reference, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
That is very
done.
Literary reference followed by a Missy from Big Mouth impersonation. I don't know where I went there, but
But hey, look, that's not to say that if they do go in a totally different direction than what I think they're doing, that's not to say there aren't ways to do that and do it well. It's not to say that there aren't ways to say you are Palpatine's grandchild.
Yeah.
I mean, I think on the surface, I think that's silly, but we've seen a lot of cool things in movies, right? That we would think in theory would be silly, but then we see it play out and stuff. I mean, who knows? There's a lot of possibilities here. Guys, I want to know what you think. You hear these words by Chris Terrio. Do you think it's pointing to that we're going to get more into the literal physical heritage of Rey, or is it, as he kind of alluded to, is it going to be more of a spiritually, who is she inside? I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that being said, let's move on now to our main topics today. How do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. See, you guys come up with them by simply going over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, you're going to see a form. Fill it out with your topic or question, hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your topic or question featured here on the John Campea Show. With that down, let's move on to our first main topic today. Chris, what is our first main topic today?
This is from David. Hey, John. I read that Tom Holland reportedly lobbied very hard for Iger and Rotherman to come back to the table and get a new deal. So, do you think Holland's efforts actually had an impact on the negotiations? Or is this just PR spin? Also, should Holland's lobbying have made a difference? He is, after all, just an actor. Well, just an actor. Should he have even had any say? Do you think he helped? What are your thoughts?
No. No. Look, so here's the deal. There's this story going around, and it's a great story. It's a story that makes us smile and feel good. But the thing is, I've been getting all these messages from people the last 24 hours. John, did you hear that it was Tom Holland that saved the Spider-Man deal? It was Tom Holland that did it. And it's like, okay, so here's basically the story. What has come out and what is true is that Tom Holland himself reached out to the head of Sony and reached out to the head of Disney and, kind of asked him, said, hey, it'd be great if you guys could actually come back to the bargaining table and make this thing happen. That is true. That happened. It did. But this notion that Bob Iger was sitting around in his, mansion inside of a mansion on top of his yacht and going, no, not going to let Spider-Man back in the MCU. We're not going to work with those Sony guys. And then his phone rings. Sir, it's Tom Holland. What? Tom Holland? Well, I better take this. And he got on the phone. Well, the thing is, Mr. Holland, I just don't feel it's a good deal. Shut up, Iger, and do what I'm telling you. Oh, yes, Mr. Holland. Yes, I'll go back to No, that didn't happen. It's a nice little story. It's a feel-good thing. It makes us feel like the guys involved were kind of on the same side that most of us were on, that we wanted to see a deal come out between these two. It's a nice story. And I love hearing that Tom Holland, took the initiative on himself and made those calls. I guarantee you they never took his calls. I almost guarantee he probably left a voicemail. But I think that's a great story. And it makes me feel good that Holland was on our side. I agree. But to think for 1 second that Rothman and Iger were like, well, we better do what Tom Holland says, I think is the kindest way I'll put it is naive. I think the kindest way I'll put it is not. It's a great story. I loved hearing it. I loved reading it. but let's not go beyond, at least I don't think, Rob, let's not go beyond what it is. It's a nice thing to hear, but there's no way it's like, well, we weren't going to do it, but since Tom wanted us to, then we'll do it. Nah, that's not what happened. Anyway, am I just being overly pessimistic about this? And am I just being like crusty on this, Rob? How do you see it?
Just like you said, it's not exactly like, I'd like to believe this is Mr. Holland's opus. I would like to believe, that all the kids that he's ever taught love him. But it's not how business works. It ain't show friends, it's show business. And there's a lot of business that had to be done between both of these companies. And by the way, it's good business. I think a lot of people believe that they're doing the right thing, that it's more beneficial for both studios, for both franchises and both Spider universes to have some kind of a connection. And Marvel has done a wonderful job with this. And I think that Sony has done well. It's amazing we got this in the first place, and I think it's great. But it wasn't just because Tom Holland wanted it to happen, or us, for that matter. The business people had to want it to happen, and so it did.
Chris, from your point of view, like, is this something, are we just being unromantic here and not believing that if you believe it, you can make it happen? And Tom Holland spun his magical dancing magic, and I don't know, like,
No.
No? Okay.
I mean, it's great that Tom wanted this, but everyone who's on Twitter right now, too, Tom Holland's belief in the Spider-Man movies restored my faith in humanity. Y'all need to, like, figure out your lives. Jesus, what's happening? Like, if Tom Holland is what restored your faith, Lord.
I'm sorry, I almost choked on my drink.
Let's understand, people. Tommy got to eat.
Yeah.
Tommy got to eat.
He's got to eat. Of course he wants to say that he likes his movies and wants to have a good merger. Like, what? I also think this whole thing, the back and forth between Sony and Disney and Tom being involved, I think all of it's been a PR stunt. I think all of it has just been out in public as a big PR stunt. I don't believe in magic. Disney is corporate. Everything's bad. I don't believe that Tom Holland magically did anything. I'm feeling very pessimistic about that.
But it's nice.
I mean, it's a sweet story, but
certainly
it's
couldn't
a
have hurt.
story. Yeah.
It certainly couldn't have hurt that you had him. And I remember, because I was at D23 and I was in the room when Tom Holland came out.
Oh, you were in the room? Do you want to just rub that in more?
Sorry, yeah. Chris was there, but she couldn't get in the room. And they said, they brought her over, security brought her over to me, and they said, sir, this woman says she's with you. I'm like, I don't know her. And then they dragged her away. Anyway, but I was there in the room when they were talking about Onward, the new animated film coming out where Tom Holland and Chris Pratt are doing voices. And, everybody's waiting. When are you guys going to address this Spider-Man situation? Nobody did. But as he was walking off stage, Tom Holland paused, had the mic and said, hey, I know it's been a crazy couple days, but I just wanted to say I love you all 3,000. And he walked up and we were like, no, Tom, no. And everybody it was a nice moment. So I don't know. It's a really nice sounding story. I liked it. I liked hearing this, but it was not Tom Holland and his great diplomatic acumen that saved the Spider-Man deal. It's just not.
And also, let's remember why he would want to do something like that in the first place. It is about getting paid. He didn't do it out of the goodness of his heart for fans across the world. He didn't know if they're going to start a new Spider-Man franchise over at Sony that's out of the MCU. He wanted a job. He wanted to make sure that Tommy was going to be around for a couple more movies. Yep. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's why he's an actor. He's trying to get paid to do work.
And he did well.
Yeah.
All right, guys, listen, question is, what do you make of it? Do you think we're just being crusty about this? And John, you're not seeing the beautiful magic side of this. It was tough. Maybe you do, and maybe you got good reasons for it. Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, sticking on the Spider-Man theme, let's move on to our second main topic today. Chris, what is main topic number 2?
This one's from Peter Stevenson. Just a fan for about 6 years from Ontario with a question for you.
It's Ontario, you American. It's Ontario.
I like Ontario. That
I
sounds
like
like
Ontario.
an alien planet.
I went to Texas public school. We're so lucky I can read. All right. With all that's been going on with Sony and Marvel surrounding Spider-Man, it's made me wonder why Marvel put so much weight on the involvement of Spider-Man in the MCU, as it seems like they have literally been setting him up to be the new Iron Man. If they didn't have a deal locked down for 10 years, why would they go this route? Was him leaving not obviously inevitable? Yeah, this is why I think it's a big old conspiracy, but what do you guys think?
Here's the thing. Yeah, when a lot of people look at the Spider-Man situation, they think, there were a lot of people saying Spider-Man's going to be the next leader of the Avenger. I'm like, really? You think military Captain Rhodes is going to take orders from a high school kid? You really think that's what they're going to do? No, they weren't setting up to be the next League of the Avengers, but they were. It does look on the outside like they were setting up to be a very big, significant presence in the MCU. Of course it looks like that. I can't blame anybody for having that way of thinking. That said, at the same time, there is something to be said about this. Look, in our culture, movie fan culture right now that is completely obsessed with shared cinematic universe. Everything has to be shared cinematic universe. If you're not doing a sequel to that movie, if you're not going to do 8 more films after this one, what's the point of making this movie? To make a good movie? Anyway, we are in a movie fan culture right now that is completely obsessed and completely, zeroed in on the idea that everything has to be shared cinematic universe, right? So we look at everything in terms of what's this going to be 5 movies from now or 10 movies from now? And when you're in a shared cinematic universe like the MCU is, that's understandable. But I also think that within all of that, one of the things that has made, I think, the MCU so good is the fact that Kevin Feige, I have never felt watching any of the MCU movies that Kevin Feige has lost the sight that we need to make this one movie a good movie on its own. Yeah, they have connective threads that tie to other films too, but every time I've watched an MCU movie myself, I have always walked away with the impression of their focus wasn't on the next 5 movies. Their focus was on this movie and making this a compelling movie and making this a satisfying movie and making this a movie that we all walk out of going, I had a good time. And then they'll worry about a lot of the other connective tissue stuff later, and they'll put some connective tissue stuff in, but their focus is always making one good movie. And what I would say about the Spider-Man stuff, that it felt like they were setting up for this and that and the other thing, while that may be true, I think there's also a big part of that here, Rob, that it was just them putting things in the movie to make that movie a great movie. Like, yeah, they're doing all this stuff with Tony, and yeah, that is stuff that could lead down the road to, the position of Spider-Man in the MCU and all that kind of stuff. But I like to think that it was really more just a part of this story is what makes this movie as good as this movie can be, and that was their focus. Look, I happen to believe that this new deal that Disney and Sony have is the last one. I do believe that, I don't know this for a fact, just to be clear, but I do believe that this last deal for these last 2 movies is their way of easing Spider-Man out of the MCU instead of the abrupt car wreck that it looked like it was heading towards. But I don't think that's throwing away anything they did in Homecoming or Far From Home. I think it just meant they made great movies with those, and they put the story in those movies to make those movies good, regardless of what comes down the line. And I think that's the difference between what has made MCU really successful and maybe some other attempted cinematic franchises that maybe haven't worked out so well. So I don't know, Rob, am I being a little bit too limited in my scope here, or how do you see that? Why do you think they set it up that way?
No, I don't think you're being limited at all. Like you pointed out, every movie, everybody tries to make the greatest movie they can make. They're not thinking 2 or 3 or 4 movies down the line because they can't. You can't. When you're making a film, you're deeply ensconced in making that movie. And the fact that they got Spider-Man at all, that's the thing that we tend to forget, is that Spider-Man, that he was at all in the MCU, is an amazing thing. And that he's been in 5 movies so far is an amazing thing, mostly because if you think about it, the reason there's so many trilogies, not just because like Lord of the Rings, is because it gets exorbitantly expensive to keep bringing talent back into these very successful films. They expect to be paid commensurate with what those movies are making. And the fact that they're able to keep bringing Tom Holland back for, now we know, a 6th and a 7th movie is extraordinary in its own right. It's amazing that we're going to get that. And I think we should see it as a blessing. And this idea that, well, he was going to take over the MCU, like, no, he never was going to take over the MCU. He was not going to be Iron Man. I mean, like you said, they weren't thinking that way. And you know what? If they want to go in a more cosmic direction, it might take them 10 films before they get back down to Earth to put Spider-Man in a movie. So everyone is just going to be fine. We're going to be fine. The movies are going to be fine. Spider-Man's going to be fine. Tom Holland's opus will continue on. And this kind of speculation is strange to me because it doesn't take into account the realities of the movie business.
Guys, question is, what do you think? Do you think they made a mistake by maybe overstating or setting up what looked like the future potential of and the importance of Spider-Man in the MCU is? Do you just see it like I do, that they were just trying to make good movies in and of themselves? How do you guys see it? Jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, with that down, let's move on to main topic number 3. Chris, what is our third main topic today?
This is from David Alping Linsgaard. My question is about the new movie The Good Liar with Ian McKellen and Helen Mirren, where McKellen plays an elderly con artist trying to swindle Mirren's character. To me, the trailers have been really good. How come this isn't on anyone's radar when these two legends are attached as the main leads? Now, Rob, you weren't here for our last No Pants Thursday where I revealed how much Logan's in love with Helen Mirren. It's on his radar. Is this movie on your radar? Do you think it should be on everyone's?
Oh, man. You know what? Let me just say I wouldn't be kicking Helen Mirren out of bed anytime soon. I've loved Helen Mirren. I mean, if she was a hottie back then, she's a hottie today. Mm-hmm. But to be serious for a moment, I mean, not that I wasn't just serious, but I think Helen Mirren's one of our greatest actresses. A lot of people, you go to Meryl Streep. Helen Mirren is a powerhouse in her own right. I love her to death. And this film was directed by Bill Condon, who has a great track record. And I love the premise of this movie, how it looks, the performances. This is one of my most desired films to see by the end of the year. I think it comes out this year, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it's an Academy Award contender. The performances look amazing. I can't wait to see this movie. Ian McKellen and Helen Mirren going at it. And they won't, I mean, I don't mean really go at it because, they're different kinds of people. But I mean like in the movie. I want to see acting like you've never seen, swindling, backstabbing. It's going to be great. I can't wait for this movie.
I think it's going to be awesome. And they showed us an extended preview of it when we were at CinemaCon, and everybody buzzed about it. It looked great.
I hadn't heard it until CinemaCon.
I hadn't either. No, that was the first time I had ever even heard of it, and they had finished shooting it already at that point. And Helen Mirren came out on stage to talk about it, which was great. So Logan would have liked to have been there, I think. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. You're right. Not a lot of people are talking about it, and I'm going to tell you why. Maybe I'm reading a little bit too much into this. Maybe I'm reading just a tad too much into it at this point. But it comes back to something I've been saying for a while. The first number of years that I was in movie punditry, I felt like a part of my job was trying to convince movie fans to give comic book movies a chance. It's like, guys, these ain't the comic book movies you remember from a long time. I mean, the comic book movies are getting good. And I felt like a good part of my job was convincing people to try out comic book movies. The last number of years, I feel like part of my job is trying to convince my fellow film fans, hey guys, give some movies that aren't comic book movies a chance. Because they're real good. There's some real good ones. But, there's a lot of people, we like what we like, and there's nothing wrong with that. So there's a lot of people who are only really interested in Avengers or what Batman's going to do. And I'm certainly, very interested in what Avengers do and what Batman does and all that kind of stuff. I'm big on the genre. I'm huge on it. But I think there's a budding group of film fans today that have lost sight that there are a lot of great movies beyond comic books. Where it felt like just a few years ago we were trying to convince people of the opposite. But there are often, most of the time, the best movies are beyond comic books. And you get a movie like this where you've got like world-class acting. You're going to have world-class storytelling in a story that's something like this. And it's like, I get it. We watch comic book movies and we've seen them improve and we've seen them get better and better and better to the point where some people think these are legitimate Oscar contenders, and most of the time they're not. And I want to encourage people, like, if you think that's an Oscar-worthy acting performance, come watch these 10 other films with what are really Oscar-worthy acting performances. And I feel like a lot of us just don't look beyond that. And let's face it, I think there's a generational thing here too with The Good Liar, because Helen Mirren and Ian McKellen are playing characters that are well outside of our generation and well outside of our experience. So I get there's a little bit of that. But I'm so glad this person wrote in and asked the question, because this is a movie with this type of royalty in it that we should be paying attention to. And, we haven't talked a lot about it on the show because there hasn't been news about it coming out. So there hasn't been a lot of that. But man, I hope people give this movie a shot when it comes out. I think it looks fantastic. I think it looks brilliant. And I really do hope people, are able to go, you know what? Not a lot of explosions in this one. I don't see any giant purple aliens. But I might give it a shot anyway, if for no other reason that Magneto's in it. So maybe I'll go give it a shot. So, hey, whatever it is that makes people give it a shot, I really do hope more people start paying attention to this film and will give it a shot when it comes. And look, for all we know, Rob, we haven't seen this movie. For all we know, it's terrible. I mean, we don't know. All the building blocks are there for it to be great. Maybe it'll be Oscar-worthy. Maybe it'll be terrible. We don't know. But I hope enough people will give it a shot. So anyway, that's my only thought on this. Guys, question is, what do you think about all that? Have you been looking forward to A Good Liar? Is this... Honestly, I mean, it's fair. Is this the first time you're ever even hearing of The Good Liar? What do you think about that? Jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down and out of the way, let's move on to our fourth main topic today. Chris, what is main topic number 4 today?
This is from Roman Bryant. Batman, Spider-Man, Thor, Suicide Squad, Doctor Strange, and Shang-Chi. We're getting 6 comic book movies in 2021. Batman and Spider-Man are two of the most, if not most popular superheroes ever. So I was wondering, which film do you see being the biggest? So of all 6 of those big old superhero movies, what's going to be the big blockbuster?
You know what? It's actually a really good question when you sit back and look at what the comic book genre is going to be offering us in 2021. Now, I think it's important to note that they didn't ask what's going to be the best film out of the bunch. That's going to be hard to say. I mean, we haven't seen trailers, we haven't seen anything like that, but this is the most, box office-wise, this is the most dominant genre in the thing. It's safe to assume these are all going to be big films, and we got 6 of them coming out, at least 6 major ones coming out in 2021. Of course, highlighted by Batman makes a solo film return. We now know that Spider-Man is going to have his 3rd film. We're going to have James Gunn's Suicide Squad. We're going to have Shang-Chi. We're going to have Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness. And we're going to have Thor, Love and Thunder. These are 6 potentially very big films. I don't know how big Shang-Chi will be. It's his first film, all that kind of stuff. Maybe Shang-Chi 2 will be a little bit bigger. Shang-Chi 2 will be a little bit. There's a lot of shush sounds coming out of my mouth right now. All that kind of stuff. So look, some people say, well, Suicide Squad. Hey, don't forget, Suicide Squad made over $800 million, the first one. And now James Gunn's attached. And that's going to bring a little bit of it. You got Nathan Fillion in there now. You got a really impressive addition to cast. That's going to be big. Thor's going to be big. People love, not everybody, but most people love Thor, Love and Thunder. You know, the first Doctor Strange made over $600 million, so it wasn't the biggest of the Marvel movies, but he's played a very prominent role in both Infinity War and, even though it's just at the end, in Endgame. So I think that's going to increase his profile. Spider-Man, first one made well over $800 million. This last one made over $1 billion. So you know that's going to be big and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of possibilities here. But Rob, to me, I believe the answer is clear. And I believe, and of course, all this could change as a result of whether these movies are any good or not, but I believe we're looking at Batman. I think, look, with the first Batman solo film since, 2012, it's going to be the first one under Matt Reeves. All the talk and speculation, all the hype about the new Batman coming in. It's going to be in its own universe, it looks like. It looks like they're putting together a very impressive cast, and it's the return of Batman. Spider-Man's going to do great. Thor, Love and Thunder is going to do great. Doctor Strange is going to do real well. Suicide Squad's going to do well. But I believe, to me, it's going to be close, but I think it's going to be Batman. How do you see it?
Look, I would normally say yeah, but I think I'm going to go with a safer bet and say Spider-Man's going to be the top grossing film because
it just made $1 billion.
Just made $1 billion. And I understand this Batman movie, everybody wants it to succeed by all accounts and with all of the elements that they're putting together. It's probably going to be, they're going to knock this one out of the park, but I don't know if it's going to be a home run yet. I think it'll do Batman Begin numbers. This idea that these movies are all going to make billions of dollars, I think I would be more conservative. It really depends. I have no idea how good the movie is going to be. I don't think making a Batman movie is a guarantee of massive box office success. Probably good box office success between, I would say, 650 million to 850 million. But I think Spider-Man's going to do $1 billion. again.
So you're gonna see that going there. Chris, you're looking at this? It's an impressive lineup of movies. They all look like a lot of fun. Do you have one in your head that you think will clearly be the winner box? Again, long way to go, and we don't know how good or bad the movies will be. But just at this point, this far out, do you have a guess which one would be the biggest one?
I mean, I hear you about the Pat-Man, but I'm gonna go Spidey. Spidey is, I think, the safe bet here. The ones I'm most excited about, honestly, are Doctor Strange and Thor. But numbers wise, I think it's Spider-Man. I think it's going to be a slow burn with Pattinson's Batman. I think if it's good, and I really hope it is, and I really think it has the potential to be great, I think people are going to kind of wait to see that one. I think it's going to have like a trickle in numbers kind of situation.
I think it's going to explode. I really do. I think it'll be close with Spider-Man, but I think it'll nudge it up. But we've got a long ways to find out. But I wanted to know what you guys thought about that. I mean, this is a nice lineup of films. And with James Gunn attached, I'm excited about Suicide Squad 2. I'm excited about Shang-Chi, all that kind of stuff. So I put it to you guys, and I made that the topic of today's question of the day. And the way we phrased it was real simple. What comic book film will be the biggest, not best, of 2021? Now, we don't have room on the poll because we can only put 4 options, so we didn't put Doctor Strange or Shang-Chi on it because, Doctor Strange made a little over $600 million, all that kind of stuff. But we discussed on the show today, so we gave you guys 4 options. Thor, Love and Thunder, Batman, Spider-Man 3, and Suicide Squad 2. Much like our own panel, the 2 big answers came in at Batman and Spider-Man 3. Batman nudges out Spider-Man 3, at least from your guys' perspective, at 43%. 43% of you think it's going to be Batman. 37% hot on its heels of you believe it's going to be Spider-Man 3. 19% of you believe it's going to be Thor, Love and Thunder. And a hopeful 2% of you guys are thinking, hey, it could be, just maybe, Suicide Squad 2. Almost 3,000 of you guys have answered that poll already. I put this up just before we started the show, and I'm going to leave this poll up on my Twitter for the rest of the day if you guys want to jump over there and add your voices to it as well. As far as the rest of you guys, what do you think is going to be the biggest film of that year as far as the comic book genre goes? Jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, with that down, let's move on to our 5th and final main topic today. Chris, what is our 5th and final main topic today?
This last question comes from David. I saw an article on THR saying that Matt Damon was not only offered a role on James Cameron's Avatar, but also a 10% cut of the profits. He said he wanted to take it, but couldn't because of scheduling conflicts. Do you think adding a Matt Damon to Avatar would have made it somehow make even more money than it already did? What are your thoughts on Damon and his effect on Avatar?
This was a crazy story to read. So Matt Damon recently did an interview, and he revealed that he had sat down with James Cameron, and Cameron offered him the Avatar role. That, of course, eventually went to Sam Worthington. So he offered him the role, and apparently, Cameron was very direct with him. And Cameron said, look, I don't need to have a big star in this. I don't, but I'd like it to be you. And he offered him 10%, which he couldn't do today because Disney would have to make that decision. But at the time, he said, I'll offer you 10% of the profits of the film. Nobody knew at the time it was going to become the #1 box office film of all time. However, Matt Damon had scheduling conflicts and prior commitments to doing Bourne films that overlapped, and it just didn't give him the time to do it. He wanted to do it, and he couldn't. And apparently in turning it down, he says, that kind of killed my chances of working with James Cameron again. But he said, yeah, I couldn't do it. And then Matt Damon even goes on to share the story about when he talked, because he's written some stuff with John Krasinski, and he talks about when he told John Krasinski. He said, I told John Krasinski this story when we were writing Promised Land, Damon continued. This is out of the Hollywood Reporter. I tell him the story, and he goes, what? And then he stands up, and he starts pacing in the kitchen. Damon recalls Krasinski telling him that had he been cast in Avatar, nothing in his life would have been different, except right now we would be having this conversation in space. So yeah, I've left more money on the table than any actor, actually. And when you start to then look back, and I think Matt Damon went on to say, you know what? I'm able to feed my kids and put a roof over my kid's head. I'm fine. And he did. He was fine. Everything's good. But when you start to put that into perspective, when you start looking at 10% of the profits, you arguably could be looking, Rob, at a $250 million payday for one movie that he might have got for doing a role like that. Now, look, it went to Sam Worthington, and I think James Cameron's words held true. He didn't need a big A-list star in that. Worthington wasn't a nobody in the business, but he wasn't exactly a big A-list star either, and it did very well with him, so James Cameron was right. But would Avatar had made even more had it been Matt Damon? I'll be willing to say this. I think Avatar might have been a little bit better with Matt Damon, because I don't think Worthington's a bad actor. I don't think he's as good as Matt Damon, though. So I think we might have seen a little bit of a better movie, but the movie made $2.7 billion. I don't know that Matt Damon's name to it would have changed the tide or made it make any more money. Maybe a little bit of a better movie, but I don't think it would have made any more money. That said, I think if you're Matt Damon, yes, you're rich. Yes, you've already had a great career, but there's got to be a little part of you that's like kicking yourself just a little bit that, oh my God, I wish that could have worked out. And Rob, you hear this story. What do you make of it?
Well, look, you know what? If you're going to spend time lamenting the decisions you made that didn't pan out, you'll be driven mad.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily think with the kind of movie Avatar is and was that Matt Damon would have made that much of a difference. You know, the Sam Worthington character, the fact that he wasn't as known when you meet him as a crippled former ex-military man, I thought it worked for the character. I thought it worked for the movie. And I think I adore Matt Damon. I've always liked him. A friend of mine even works with him that I grew up with in my neighborhood. It's one of his assistants. And by all accounts, he's just a great guy. And I adore The Martian. I could watch The Martian.
So
The Martian
good.
is one of those movies that it quickly is going up the ranks, especially the extended director's cut, as one of my favorite movies of all time. And it's because of him. You know, Matt Damon is so, of course, all the other supporting characters, but I love watching Matt Damon in movies. So I don't think Avatar would make more money if he was in it. I think the movie might have been held in higher regard now, that people wouldn't be so dismissive of it the way they are now. But no, I don't think he would have made the movie necessarily any better, or would he have made it more successful? He certainly, I mean, $250 million. But you know what? He's had a great career. And does he have a better career now than Sam Worthington does?
Well, I think that's safe to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's doing all right.
Although Sam's got four more Avatar movies coming out that they're going to pay him pretty well
And
too.
let's remember Jake Sully. There is a Hot Toys figure of him, and there is no Matt Damon Hot Toys figure. So who wins?
There are no Matt Damon Hot Toys?
Like none for any of the movies that he's been in?
There's no like Matt Damon window jumping?
No Bourne Ultimatum? Really?
Not Hot Toys.
That
Wow.
surprises me.
I know.
That's intriguing
Hot
to know.
Toys. You should
But
make
there's
a
a Jake
Goodwill
Sully
Hunting
Hot
toy.
Toy.
I mean, yeah, there. No, I doubt. The first question that came to my mind after hearing about this actually was, I wonder if Cameron made that same offer to Worthington. I gotta believe he didn't, because Worthington was a bit of a hotter name for a time, but I think when they made Avatar, he wasn't the biggest name or anything like that. I gotta imagine he probably got some good deal. Look, he got paid well to do Avatar, I'm sure, but I doubt he got the same 10% offer that Damon got. Rob, do you think?
Yeah, there's no way. He wouldn't get them apples. No way.
No,
No.
he wouldn't get them apples. Question is, guys, what do you think about this? If you're Matt Damon, are you like kicking yourself? Or are you like, you know what? I got all the money in the world anyway. It doesn't really matter. Do you think Avatar would have turned out much difference either in quality-wise or how much money it made at the box office? Or do you think it would make no difference whatsoever? Jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, that will do it for all of our main topics today. We're now going to move on and take the live questions you guys have been sending in. But before we get to those, we are going to take a couple of minutes of a break here. We're going to stretch our legs, refill our drinks, all that sorts of stuff. Let you guys chat amongst yourselves for a minute. So hang tight with us. We will be back in just a couple of minutes, and getting to your live questions. We'll be right back. And we are back. Thank you, everybody, for your patience there as we stretch the old legs, got things going. And hey, I'm going to make a couple of announcements right now before we get things rolling. Once again, I just want to remind you that because today is Joker Day and I'm going to go see the Joker this afternoon, I got a bunch of things I got to do. So for those of you who are Patreon supporters, and we normally jump over and do the John Campea Show post-show chat on the Discord server, I can't do that today because a lot of things going on today, but you guys can still go over there and talk amongst yourselves. I hope you do. I'll jump in and check on the Discord server a little bit later today once I get out of the movie. And don't forget, I will be putting up my post-movie immediate reaction coming out of the movie theater. I'll put that up a little bit later today, so keep your eyes open. And then I'm sure me and Rob will talk about Joker tomorrow on the show, so make sure you're there too. But I do want to announce a couple things here. Number one, a lot of you guys have been patiently waiting for Rob and I to get up and running again the Weekly Hero. And I can tell you that probably within the next 4 to 6 weeks, we will have Weekly Hero. We'll be back up and running. And I know it's been a long hiatus. We knew we had to take a hiatus, but it's been longer even than we thought it was going to be, Rob. But I mean, we're excited to get back to it. And so that will be coming. And of course, me, Robert Meyer Burnett, will be doing that. The other thing I wanted to let you guys know was that I'm also, the other show that you guys have been asking me to bring back is, of course, Star Wars Talk Tuesdays. So probably within the next 4 to 6 weeks, I will be bringing back Star Wars Talk Tuesdays. I'm excited about that. You know, I love talking Star Wars and all that kind of stuff, so we will be bringing that back. So keep your eyes open for that. So I just want to throw that out there. All right. With all that said, let's now get to the nitty-gritty and get to your live questions that you guys have been firing in. And we're going to get things started here on our live questions with Joshua Levesque, who writes, "Hey, John, first super chat. Thanks for sending it in, Joshua. And thanks for the superb content." Well, thank you for being here for it. "I love interacting with Rob on Twitter. He's a great combo of humor and knowledge. Stay sweaty. I personally find him to be an insufferable son of a bitch." No, I mean, yeah, obviously. Hey, listen, if you think it's great interacting with Rob on Twitter, I wish everybody could have the privilege, because everybody's lives would be better if you actually had a Robert Meyer Burnett in your life that you could actually interact with in person. It is honestly one of the great privileges of my career that I get to work with Robert every day. So see, people love interacting with you online, too,
I
Rob.
want to thank Joshua. We do interact on Twitter a lot, and he's very complimentary, and I want to thank him. I do just want to point out that I was on one of my comments on one of my chats from yesterday. Somebody did say that I am a monumental douchebag in real life, but I'm very amusing online. So perhaps maybe people should only interact with me online, and they would just feel better about me. So thanks for that, Joshua. I appreciate it.
All right, we move on now. Next one comes to us from Matsiv Jada, who writes, "Saw Joker. They did it just right. Joaquin is 10 out of 10. Hearing nothing but great things about it, and we will know ourselves firsthand in just a few hours." I'm very excited. Thanks for sharing your thoughts on that, Matsiv. All right, Nathan Oswald writes, "Birthdays today." I love when Nathan sends in the birthdays. Noah Schnapp, I got to admit, I don't know who that is.
I don't either.
Okay, anyway, Noah's 15. Happy birthday, Noah. Alicia Vikander, I know who she is. She is 31 years old. Tessa Thompson is 36. Sean William Scott turns 43. Nev Campbell is 46. Everybody will think of her as Dinner for Five. I will always think of her from the one she did.
Scream.
No, I don't even think of Scream. I think of that movie she did who's the girl who played Dr. Christmas in James Bond? What's her name again? And she was in.
She was married to Charlie Sheen.
And she was married to Charlie Sheen, and she was
why
in.
am I trying to blank on her name?
Starship Troopers.
Denise Richards.
Denise Richards. That one where it was like a murder mystery, and the two of them. It's like one of the. They had that make out scene in the pool. I always think of her.
Oh, Wild Things.
Wild Things. Thank you. And Matt Dillon. Matt Dillon was in that as well. I always think of Wild Things when I think of Neve.
There's now, you know what? You're right. I should be thinking about Wild Things pretty much every day now.
And by the way, Neve Campbell also was just in that Dwayne The Rock Johnson movie with the high-rise building.
Skyscraper.
It's like, oh my gosh, that's Neve Campbell. I haven't seen her in a while. It was really good to see her in that. Lena Headey's 46 years old. Love her. Gwen Stefani, no. Gwen Stefani's 50? I don't buy that for a second. Oh my God. Denis Villeneuve is 52. Clive Owen is 55. And Lindsey Buckingham turns 70 years old. Thank you. I love the birthday stuff, man. Thanks for sending that in, Nathan. All right. Heroes Fan Productions writes. It's Joker Day. Indeed it is, my friend. Seeing it this weekend, and I'm super excited. If Heath was still with us today, I think his response to all this unnecessary controversy would be, why so serious? And Rob, it does come up once in a while about, amongst film fan circles, about where would Christopher Nolan's Batman franchise have gone after Dark Knight had Heath not passed away? Now, a lot of people still really like The Dark Knight Rises, and I like The Dark Knight Rises. I just personally feel it was the weakest of the Batman films that Nolan did. But, it's hard to imagine that he wouldn't have gone and continued on with that Heath Ledger Joker character, and imagine what might have been. What might have been. Do you think they would have done more with Heath Ledger's Joker had he not passed away?
Yeah, I absolutely do. And as a matter of fact, if you think about where the ultimate example of creating that kind of chaos, I mean, they brought Bane into it, but Joker, can you imagine if Joker ended up doing what Bane did in Dark Knight Rises and he took over Gotham? He declared himself some god emperor and was running around with the whole city, everybody worshiping him. I mean,
where do you talk like this, Mr. Wade?
It could have been a pretty crazy movie with the Joker shaping the world, meaning the world of Gotham, in his own image. I would like to have seen that.
Would have been pretty crazy. All right, Ranger 8 writes, now is the hour. Riders of Rohan, oaths you have taken, now fulfill them all to lord and land. Oh, gotta love the king of Rohan. Look,
Theoden.
The thing about Theoden is he is not the most major character in The Lord of the Rings. But as you sit back and actually look at all of the iconic lines, Theoden actually has some of the most iconic, that like the death, all that kind of, to me.
And a red dawn.
Oh, to me though, like the ultimate grrr line. Like I still think the best moment of all the Lord of the Rings film is when Strider at the end, he's now crowned the King of Men, he's the King of Gondor, comes into the hobbits, and he gets down on one knee and says, my friends, you bow to no one. That to me is like, I still get chills when I think about that. But very close second to that for me. And I think we've talked about this before, Rob, but is that moment when, Strider keeps trying to get King Theoden to go and send support. No, that we don't like Gondor. They don't need us. We don't need them, blah, blah. And then Strider comes in. The torches have been lit. The beacons have been lit. And he says, Gondor calls for aid. And there's this pause. And he gets this look on his Theoden. And Rohan shall answer. I'm like, fuck yeah! Like that is like one of the greatest cinematic moments ever. And between that, his speech on the horse as he's getting ready to go down and charge it.
Well, I gotta tell you, one of my favorite moments in the whole Lord of the Rings trilogy is when the beacons are lit, and then the camera rises up and you see in the distant mountaintops as one beacon lights and the other beacon lights and the Howard Shore's music rises up. I just get chills every time I see that scene. I mean, it's so great.
You know what's funny about that scene, though, if you really want to think about it? Think about, how long had they said it had been centuries since they had lit the beacons, right? It's like, it is there's a bunch of dudes that it's their job to sit up on the top of a mountain and just keep an eye open just in case the things have been lit. Like, I wanted to be in one of those nests where it's like, hey, Ed, the torch is lit. You're shitting me. No, I'm serious. Look. Holy shit. What do you know? And then they like...
That could be... somebody should do a comic or something.
There should be a Saturday Night Live sketch on
yeah,
that.
like what do you do when you're one of those dudes?
It's been 400 years. Are you serious? I know,
And maybe it becomes like mandatory service. Like anybody who lives in Gondor, just you got to do that for a week.
Maybe it's like the Watchers on the Wall. Maybe
Could
it's
be like
something
that. Or just, you're up there for a couple of months and you come back. It's cool.
All right, Willow Yang writes, Happy Joker Day. I won't be seeing the movie until this weekend, but I look forward to hearing your reactions. Hope you all have a great time. I'm sure I will. Now, look, Joker is not the type of movie that looks like you have a lot of fun, but I mean, I'm looking forward to a magnificent movie. I love what I'm hearing from it. Not just any movie wins the Golden Lion at the Venice Film Festival. I'm stoked. I cannot wait. And I will put up my reaction later this afternoon as soon as I come out of the movie. All right, Nathan Oswald writes, over under 20% midichlorians will have resurrected Palpatine. I'm going to take the under on that because I do not believe they are ever going to mention midichlorians. I think that is one thing they're going to try to avoid. And I don't think midichlorians will be mentioned. I mean, they might. Anything's possible, but I don't think midichlorians are going to be brought into the story at all. Casinema Reviews writes, if Tarantino directed Star Wars, Mace Windu, Arabesh motherfuckers, do you speak it? Does he look like a Sith? Does he look like a Sith? Say it again. I dare you. Say it one more time. I mean, look, it's about as crazy idea as the idea of Quentin Tarantino directing a Star Trek movie. I mean, you're like, that doesn't fit. But wow, that would be interesting to see. You know what I mean? I think it plays both ways. By the way, Rob, just where we're at right now, I mean, a lot's been quiet on the Western Front for a long time now. Are we ever going to see this Quentin Tarantino Star Trek movie, do you think? I'm starting to think no.
I don't think so. I mean, maybe, but it would be interesting, but I can't see it.
All right. I'm getting to that point myself. Nathan Oswald writes, miscellaneous movies in my top 30. Backdraft. You go, I go. I love that movie, man. I think that's my favorite Ron Howard movie is Backdraft.
Wow.
And there's a lot of good ones. Anyway, Speed, Aliens, Terminator from '84, Top Gun. I spent a long time learning how to play that thing on guitar, man. You'd think it'd be really easy. It should have been easy. Anyway, The Fugitive. I didn't kill my wife.
That's a movie people don't talk about enough.
No, it's so good.
It's so good.
And I think, did Tommy Lee Jones win the Academy Award? I know he's at least nominated for Best Supporting Actor for that.
I don't know.
I can't remember if he won it or not. But that one line, I didn't kill my wife, and Tommy Lee Jones, I don't care. It's just like that. It's such, guys, if you have not seen Harrison Ford, Tommy Lee Jones's The Fugitive, you've got to watch The Fugitive. Never watch U.S. Marshals, the spin-off movie after that with, I believe, Wesley Snipes and Tommy. Don't bother with that one, but you've got to watch The Fugitive. Tombstone, Escape from New York, Titanic, and Demolition Man. What are the seashells for? Anyway, the Demolition Man. All right. Matthew Leach writes, some major studios have been hit with a copyright termination notice and risk losing the franchise rights to IPs such as Terminator, Die Hard, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, etc. What are your thoughts on this? Okay, look, we clearly can't go into this all in detail right now. And really, I'm not going to pretend like I know all the nuances of it. Basic thing is this. A number of years ago, some precedents got set in a court that basically said this, that the writers of content, after a period of 35 years, can file even if a studio files copyright for that thing, the creators of that content originally can file basically a copyright cancellation on that studio's thing and get back their copyright rights to that property. And right now, we have a number of writers that are now submitting these copyright cancellation notices in court. And it is feasible right now. I don't know, however unlikely, but it is feasible right now that we're going to start seeing a lot of popular IP studios lose their rights to those. Now, look, it doesn't mean everything. If you got hired specifically by Paramount, hey, we're going to hire you, Eddie. We want to write this Top Gun movie. We're making this movie Top Gun. We need a scriptwriter to come in and write the script. So we're going to hire you to come in and that. You get no ownership of that. That's a work for hire, all that kind of stuff. But there's a lot of these properties that are like that. I encourage you all to look into it online and read up on it. But Rob, it's an interesting situation. Do you have any thoughts on it right now?
No, I think it should happen. You know, after 35 years, why not? If a writer created these things, copyright law has been extended. Disney's done a lot of shenanigans when it comes to extending copyright,
so much
so they can hang on to Mickey Mouse. But the copyright law was designed for a reason, and I don't think corporations should be able to own, or studios should be able to own, an original work forever. in perpetuity. And why shouldn't 35 years is a long time? Why shouldn't authors be able to get their work back so their families and next of kin can benefit from it or whatever?
Or the public domain. Which, I mean, a lot of arguments have been made about the public domain is for the public good, and it encourages creativity and it encourages innovation. But anyway, we'll go into that stuff another time, I'm sure. Hold on a second. They got a spam call there. Sorry, I'm expecting a call from my mom, so I'm keeping my phone ringer turned on today.
Oh, I'd love it if you
case.
took it on the show.
When my mom calls? Yeah, it's nothing bad. My mom needs to get a hold of me. So anyway. Okay, let's move on here. Next one up comes to us from Matthew Leach, who writes. Oh, no, that was Matthew Leach. Hugh Q writes. Hey, John, just saw Joker, and I still feel disturbed and uneasy in a twistedly good way. Also, my cinema-allowed young kids went in to see Joker, WTF, and when the movie was finished, they were crying and shaking. Well, remember, in the you're in Australia. I don't know how it works where you live if you're in Australia, Hugh, because in the United States, rated R doesn't mean kids aren't allowed to come into the movie. Rated R just means if you're a kid and you want to come into the movie, you have to be accompanied by an adult. So you can be rated R. And that's fine. So I don't know how the rating system works over there, but I've been to many a rated R film, Rob, where there have been people of an age that shouldn't have been there for those. But hey, whatever. Parents have their discretion on that.
I think it's good. Kids need to be crying and shaking. It's a tough world out there. Toughen up, people. Toughen up.
Bring them out and let them watch it. I'm taking my kid to public hangings. It'll toughen them up. All right. It reminds me, a buddy of mine, Manolis Zantanos. He's a Canadian comedian. He's very good. He's done comedy specials. You can look him up. Manolis Zantanos. Very, very funny dude. He was in my movie, The Anniversary. But anyway, I remember he had this joke once, and it was basically this. And it might offend some, but just be warned. But this is his joke, and I thought it was very funny. He goes I don't get involved in politics, but people want to talk about, abortion's a big issue. Like, are you pro-choice? Are you pro-life? And he's like, listen, I'll tell you what, I'm actually pro-choice, he says. Myself, I'm a conservative guy in a lot of different ways, but I am personally pro-choice. I think a woman should have a right to choose what she does with her body, he says. He goes, so I got in a debate with this person and said, well, then are you okay with killing the baby 1 minute after it's born? And Manolis said, I'm okay with that too. He goes, I believe parents should be allowed to kill their children. Because guess what? If you say to little Billy, hey, little Billy, go clean your room or I'm going to kill you, little Billy going to go clean his room because little Billy doesn't want to die. And I just remember whenever I would go watch Manolis live and he would drop that joke, the place would always gasp for a second, but then roll on the floor laughing. It's a great. What brought that up again? Oh, yeah. Toughen your kids up. Toughen your kids up, as Robert Meyer Burnett says.
It's a cruel world.
It's a cruel world. You got to get them used to it.
Learn sooner rather than later.
All right. Next one up. Alex Larios writes, hey, crew, top 10 list. John Wick. Number 9, The Pursuit of Happiness. The Pursuit of Happiness is a nice little film, actually. Number 8, Wedding Crashers. Just the tip. That's an underrated comedy. We don't talk about The Wedding Crashers enough. I love that movie.
So good.
Number 7, Whiplash. Number 6, Apocalypto. Beautifully directed film. Number 5, Troy. I'm not a big Troy fan myself, but number 4, The Dark Knight. Number 3, Gladiator. Number 2, Scarface. And number 1, 300. This is Sparta. My twin brother and I have different lists despite having the same taste in movies. Subjectivity heading to Vegas right now for our birthday. Keep up the great work. We'll have a great time in Vegas, Alex. I actually go out there quite a bit. I go out to Vegas quite a lot. But that's a great example of the subjectivity of film. You're twins. You have the same taste in movies, and yet your lists look completely different. That's the beautiful thing about the art, man. That is the absolute beautiful thing about the art. I love Vegas, man. Have a great time in there. Don't get carried away, or do, depending on how much you want to party. Go and have a good time, my friends. All right. Monty P. Moneybags writes, we talk about actors' years, not sure about this year in general, but it was definitely the summer of Keanu Reeves, John Wick, Toy Story, ABMM, always be my maybe. Oh no, this was, I think, McConaughey's year. This was
Keanu's
although
year.
It's looking pretty good for McConaughey with this new one from Guy Ritchie. This was Keanu Reeves' year. Because not only was it those movies, but then the news of a Bill and Ted 2. There was the Cyberpunk. 3. There was the cyber video game when he came out on stage, made that announcement. He was the darling of social media. All the social media things started trending of him doing these amazingly cool things for people and all that kind of stuff. This was Keanu Reeves' year. I have no doubt about that. Rob, do you see any other contender for that?
No, and you know what? Of course, Keanu Reeves had not one, but 2 Hot Toys figures come out within a few months
Well,
of each
that's
other.
the real measure.
I mean, Neo, a new Hot Toys Neo came out, and a Hot Toys John Wick figure came out. What actor can say that?
Not many. Not many. Hopefully I will someday. All right, next one up here. War Machine Rocks writes, can you make John's thoughts on walks ongoing? I think I will. So, of course, yesterday I did a little video. People were asking me, look, I didn't make Todd Phillips's comments about you can't make comedy today anymore and all. I didn't think that was important. I didn't make it a topic on the show, but then a whole ton of you guys wrote to me and asked me that you wanted my thoughts. So I get in my 5 miles every day. So I'm one of those Fitbit wearers. I got to get in my 5 miles every day. So every day I do a chunk of walking if I don't do enough on the treadmill desk. So I thought I'll just take my camera with me and I'll record me answering it. And for whatever reason, a lot of people really liked it. So, and I just called it Thoughts on Walks. So I think a couple of times a week, I will create a new little video playlist here on the YouTube channel. It's going to be either called Thoughts on Walks or Walk and Talk, one of the two. Out of curiosity, Rob, what's the better title? Thoughts on Walks or Walk and Talk?
I like Thoughts on Walks.
Yeah, I think maybe Thoughts on Walks.
It's got a poetry to it, John.
So I actually think War Machine Rocks, I do think that's going to become a regular thing on the show. I mean, I got to go out and do my walks every day, so I might as well talk while I'm doing it. So I think I'm going to do it. But
you
thank
should do
for
it
the input.
live.
I don't think I'd want to do it live because I edit. Because when I'm walking, I'm also rambling. So I usually have to then, get home, sit on my couch on my iPad and edit it down and then put it up because I don't want it to be 25 minutes long. I want it to be like 3 or 4 minutes long at most. So, but that's an idea. Thank you for the input on that, War Machine. I appreciate that. All right, Sean Stewart writes, my mom made me so happy today when she asked me if she wants to see the rise of Skywalker. I knew I have an awesome mom. Well, listen, Sean, you got yourself a great mom. My mom is the person that introduced me to Star Wars. My mom is the one who introduced me to Star Wars. She's the best mother in the world, so you got to have a pretty damn good one too, and just be thankful for the genes that you have, and always be grateful for your mom, even if they don't love Star Wars, everybody. All right, let's see. Daniel Hinojosa writes, Felipe the Sentient Dancing Microphone is on IMDb. Yes, it is. This is just another reason why I tell people never count on the information on IMDb unless it's a movie that's already come out. The information on IMDb is pretty much 99.99% accurate for movies that have already come out. But I often tell people, don't look to IMDb for information on movies that haven't come out yet. Because it says, John, did you see that on IMDb it says so-and-so is going to be the villain in this movie? Well, that's not necessarily true. So the fact that Felipe the Sentient Dancing Microphone is on IMDb is a very good indication of that. Luke1234 writes, X-Mix Christmas double feature, Die Hard and Batman Returns. Except that Die Hard isn't a Christmas movie. I think you disagree with me on that, don't you, Rob?
It's a Christmas movie.
See, it has nothing to do with Christmas other than the fact that it happens at Christmas time. I don't know. It's funny because Bruce Willis and I think the film's writer, even they have differing opinions on that. Because the writer of the film says, oh, yeah, it's a Christmas movie.
It's about a man trying to get home to his family for the holidays. That's what the movie's about.
And Bruce Willis says, no, it's not a Christmas. So even amongst the creators and the actors, there's even disagreement. So, of course,
it's like planes, trains, and automobiles, but with more guns. And it's not about Thanksgiving, it's about Christmas.
And it doesn't have John Candy. All right, Superman Steve writes, that's funny. Superman Steve writes, random question, John, have you ever wanted to grow a full beard? Yes. However, this is one of the things where my superior Italian genetics have failed me. They have failed me. Despite the fact that I am the perfect genetic stock of Canadian and Italian, my genetics have failed me on this level. And that is, I grow the facial hair of a 12-year-old child. I can't do it. Like, for those of you, like, I always participate in No Shave November, although I don't think I did last year because I think I just forgot. I participate in No Shave November, trying to raise awareness and raise money for cancer research. But people look at me like 3 weeks into November, it's like, hey, John, did you just start? Nope, I haven't shaved in 3 weeks. It just looks like I haven't even started yet. Because I will grow patches of hair. My lip grows hair, but slowly. So does my chin. But this entire area right here, I won't grow hair. It's like, it looks really, I look really silly near the end of No Shave November because I got these patches of hair around my face. It's not a good look.
I didn't know that. I have a beard that comes in white, if it comes in at all. I mean, same with you. I've never really, I had facial hair once and people seem to dig it. So maybe No Shave November, I'll go for the Santa beard. Because that's what happens to me.
I'd like a salt and pepper beard. Most of my facial hair comes in black. I mean, I've got more gray, although I've had this since I was 30, but I've got the Mr. Fantastic kind of gray here and here, but I don't really get much on my facial hair. Anyway, whatever. I wish I could grow beard, Superman Steve, but my genetics have failed me when it comes in that regard. I just can't do it. All right, Grandmaster writes, weird fact. Just a few years before he died, Charlie Chaplin won his only, this is an interesting one actually, won his only regular Oscar, and he got it for Best Original Score. I could have sworn he had one for Best Actor and or Best Director. Well, funny thing, there was an Academy Award nomination for Best Acting by Charlie Chaplin, but that was when Robert Downey Jr. was playing Charlie Chaplin. A lot of people forget that. Robert Downey Jr. did get an Academy Award nomination for playing Charlie Chaplin.
I got one for you. Who did Robert Downey Jr. lose to that year?
Best Supporting Actor. No, Best Lead Actor.
Best Actor. Who won? And for what movie?
Was it Anthony Hopkins for Silence of the Lambs? No, no?
Nope. And I only know this because I actually watched the clip yesterday on YouTube. Of this.
That's a great question.
It just popped up and I watched it.
God, I can't even say give me a hint because any hint would give it away. I don't know. I'm stumped. Who was it?
Al Pacino for Son of a Woman.
Nice. That's a good one to lose to.
And it's funny because when they cut to I thought Chaplin came out earlier than that year. And I was surprised, and Robert Downey Jr. looking very Tony Stark.
Who was the other lead in that? It wasn't Matt Damon, was it? No, it was a young actor.
Chris O'Donnell.
It was Chris O'Donnell. Okay, there you go. I knew it was kind of like that face.
Let's take a flamethrower to this place. I love Son of a Woman. Directed by Martin Brest, who directed Beverly Hills Cop.
Okay, next up, Matthew Grant writes. That's some good trivia right there. Matthew Grant writes, what was your very first R-rated theater movie? Mine was Species, 1995. I was 14 years old. One of the best creature designs ever. Love H.R. Geiger. First of all, Species was a fun, trashy little movie. That was a fun, trashy little movie. I remember the very first time I went to the movie theater without my parents. It was for a Kenny Rogers movie called Six Pack, where Kenny Rogers was like a NASCAR driver, and he had no crew, and he accidentally stumbles across these 6 parentless little kids who are just happen to be wizards at fixing cars, so he starts bringing them along with him. It's called Six Pack. Terrible movie to be my first one. First, I got it. I can't remember what my first R1 was.
I can.
I think I remember you telling the story about what your first R1 was before, right?
My first R-rated movie in the theater was Exorcist II: The Heretic.
Oh,
and what a shattering disappointment that was. Although I've come to like that movie Shout put out a great Blu-ray, but man, I walked out and I felt like I'd been deprived of something in my life.
I felt like I've been deprived of something. Okay, let's move on here. Next up is K Major. For my film brother, Darth Sidious. Hey, everyone. Have you heard of the cartoon called Galactic Football? It's a 2006 French series, ran for 3 seasons. So Darth Sidious, one of our regular viewers, have been asking this like every day, but Rob, you and everybody else has always gone. I've answered a ton of times myself, no. But K Major stepping it up and doing it. While you're actually here, Rob, have you ever seen Galactic Football?
I have not. And if it wasn't about the Seattle Seahawks being the Jedi Knights of the Pacific Northwest, I don't know if you could get me to watch it. But otherwise,
they got a big Thursday night game tonight.
Yes,
Isn't it them and the Rams tonight?
I believe it is.
I think it's them and the Rams. That's going to be a good game. But I'm going to be watching Joker. Oh, I'll get to watch it after Joker.
Yeah.
That's right. I'm very excited about that. All right. Jose Miaz writes, over under that Cain Velasquez joins the WWE. I think it's 70%. Because he's already been doing some luchador wrestling with the mask on, and I think his body's just broken down to the point that he can't do too bad. He could have been one of the legendary UFC heavyweights of all time, former UFC heavyweight champion, 2-time UFC heavyweight champion. But I think he is going to go WWE. So I go 70% on that. Initial D's writes, one of two. When I said I can't believe Peeps complained about the music yesterday, I was talking about my movie news. Oh, my movie news song that you abandoned, not the Gary Glitter joke. Oh, see, you can see why I thought that though, Initial, right? Because it came right after that thing. That was a coincidence. My comment was after that. Maybe you can send it to me or something. We can talk in the Discord after the show about it. Here's the thing, Initial. I cannot send it to you because while I bought the rights to that music, they were not exclusive rights. The song doesn't belong to me. I just purchased the licensing rights to use that music. music. I cannot share that music with people, unfortunately. So I can't send it out to people. That would be violating the terms of the license and copyright law. So I cannot do that, unfortunately. But you should be able to just go back to one of the old episodes, record a clip of it, and you should be able to find some sound matches to that to find the actual name of the track and find yourself. I hope that's helpful. But thanks for clearing that up, Initial. I appreciate that, man. All right. Jetfire97 writes, petition to bring back the Hey, speaking of that song, the Hey song during the break. Of course, that was the music we used to play during the movie news feed. Hey, hey, hey. And I used to get so many people complain about it. I thought it was good background music, but a lot of people complain. Michael Bradley writes, hello, John. Saw Friends via Fathom events yesterday and was so surprised how much I laughed at the stuff I've seen many times over. About 15 people were there, but the energy was amazing. Hey, listen, when you get a good group of people together, Rob, to watch something, doesn't matter if there's a ton of you, to watch something that you're all passionate about, that's a lot of fun. That's a lot of fun. I mean, that's why I like getting people together, like to watch a Star Wars movie or to watch Cool as Ice with Vanilla Ice or whatever. When you get to watch it, as a matter of fact, I had a great moment yesterday with my wife. We were driving back from the gym and we started talking about Lucifer, and Trisha Helfer, I believe is the girl's name, who was in Lucifer. She played Lucifer's mom, his hot mom. And I mentioned that, you know, she of course got her start in Battlestar Galactica, Ron Moore's Battlestar Galactica, my all-time favorite show. And Ann said to me, you know, I've never watched that and I've always wanted to. I'm like, I just fell in love with you like a little bit more. Not only that she hadn't watched it, but she wants to watch it again. I'm like, I've been waiting for an excuse to watch this series again because I've never watched it twice. I very rarely watch shows through twice. And so I'm like, this is my excuse to watch again. I was very happy.
Would you surprise you to know I've got a beautiful, beautiful Blu-ray box set of the entire series?
The big box with the sign, they sent it to me. They found out that I do have that around. I've never played it. I've never even opened the box.
Oh, dude, it's great.
But there's a figure in the box and everything too, I believe.
There's a Cylon on the top.
Yeah. But I've never even opened the box. But I'm going to watch it now with my wife again.
Shameful, John. Shameful.
Yeah, but I'm very excited. Okay, anyway, Nick writes, 1 of 4. Here we go. Just got an email from Foxtel, Australia's #1 cable TV provider, saying that they're pulling the Disney channels. I'm guessing because Disney want more subscribers to Disney Plus. My family and I have been loyal with Foxtel for nearly 20 years. My family is shocked that there will be no more Disney content to view. The real insult here is that our Foxtel fees aren't going to drop with the exclusion of our beloved Disney channels. We are beyond pissed. Do you think Disney will up the cost, forcing other countries to do the same with their cable TV networks, or will they simply pull their content off? You know, it's funny because, like in the States right now, I believe it's the Dish Network doesn't have Fox, or their channels isn't on. Look, I'm not going to... Here's the thing. The TV channel will try to tell you this is all the cable provider's fault. The cable provider will say, no, the TV network is being completely unreasonable. This is their fault. And it's hard to know. In a situation like this, Nick, without knowing all the details, is this just a simple matter of that Disney said, no, we don't want to have our stuff on free programming anymore. We want people to sign up for Disney Plus. Or was it the network saying, you know what, Disney, we don't want to pay you as much as we have before for having your content on our network. So we're going to reduce the rate. And Disney said, no, we're not going to accept that. So I don't know what the details are. I don't blame them. I don't think any network should lower their costs for their cable service provider just because one channel, I mean, there's 500 channels. Just because one channel drops out, I don't think they should drop their prices. But it's tough to have an opinion on that when we don't know what the details are. You know, so it's a sucky situation, especially if you love those Disney networks. But honestly, with Disney Plus coming, probably don't need them. I don't know, Rob. What do you think about all that?
It's weird. It's hard to say, but look, Disney wants everyone to go to Disney Plus. That's what's going to happen. It's eventually going to be worldwide, and I think it's inevitable. But from everything that I've seen from Disney Plus, they're doing everything right. They're providing the best picture, the best sound quality, especially for home theater enthusiasts like I am. It's great, and I think it's just we've just got to get used to it. I know that the 20 years Foxtel, you've been loyal customers, but the world is what it is, and Disney is I don't think they're an evil empire, but they're definitely an empire, and I don't think you can fight it.
All right. Next up here, Ryan Lohner writes, when is Starbuck going to get back to Apollo and Starbuck? Well, remember, the last time
When is Star Wars?
When is Star Wars? I said Star Trek. Going to get back to Apollo and Starbuck. Remember, the last time we saw Apollo and Starbuck, they were on a search for Spock's body, and Space Cowboy came along to help them on their search. If you guys know that reference, I'm impressed. I'm going to guess, Rob, you know the reference.
I don't.
Space Cowboy? Okay. George Peppard.
Oh, you're talking about Battle Beyond the Stars?
Yes! Well done, sir.
I mean, I thought it was that whole line that you're saying was, no, George Peppard, he was the best.
He was great.
I mean, if you guys haven't seen Battle Beyond the Stars, you've got Sybil Danning as Saint Exmund of the Valkyrie. You've got Robert Vaughn is in that movie. Oh,
And what was George Peppard's character's name again?
I think it was just Cowboy.
Space Cowboy. It's Space Cowboy. It's oh my god.
And John Saxon is Sador of the Malmori.
It's a fun little movie.
Darlene Flugel.
It's a glorious B movie. It is a glorious B movie.
So good. Written by John Sayles.
All right. Let's see here. Stern Teacher. I love the name. Writes, list of Armand White type of critics is growing. Not really. There's one Armand White. I mean, there might be critics out there who don't like something you like. That doesn't make... Armand White is a totally different situation. If you're not sure what it is we're talking about, go do a little bit of research on Armand White.
Go read any of his reviews.
Any of his reviews, or do some research. It is clearly on purpose. Anyway, James Lockman writes, one of two. Never having watched The Greatest Showman, I listened to the song Never Enough. Oh, that song is so good. By Lauren Alfred, after you mentioned it on your show, and boy, that girl can sing. I went on iTunes to buy the movie and saw a bundle that also includes Moulin Rouge, another movie I haven't watched. That is one of my top 20 favorite movies of all time, by the way.
What
Moulin
a great
Rouge.
double feature.
That is a marvelous double feature. So I picked up the bundle. I could listen to Lauren Alfred and Naomi Scott all day long. John, you inspired my choices. I'm telling you what, this is because I got to double check on this, Rob, but Greatest Showman did not open big.
No, it didn't. It just played a long time.
I think it had a very low opening weekend, as a matter of fact. Here's the thing. Greatest Showman had an opening weekend of, get this, it wasn't a limited release. It was its full wide release. Take a wild guess now. I'm going to tell you right now. Its budget was $84 million, and its grand total by the end of its run was $434 million. Take a guess what its opening weekend was.
You want me to guess?
Yes.
12 million.
Lower.
No.
Yeah.
8?
$8 million.
That's crazy.
8 in wide release. Greatest Showman opened to $8.8 million, which, I mean, look at this. Opened on 3,000 screens. 3,000 theaters it opened on, to an opening weekend of $8.8 million.
John, what's even more amazing is that its domestic total, as you can see right there, is $174 million.
Yeah.
With an $8 million opening.
$8 million opening.
That's insane. That is an enormous, wow.
That is, it's absolutely mind-boggling.
I'm blown away.
It's big, but it's a testament that this is really one of those movies that nobody thought it looked any good. I didn't think it looked all that interesting, really. I mean, other than it's Hugh Jackman, who's the greatest entertainer in the world. And then I go to see it, I'm like, wow. And then I saw it again, I'm like, I liked it even more the second time. And then I went to go see it again, and I am just in love with that movie. I love that movie, and the music in it is so good. Oh my God, if you guys have not seen The Never Enough, one of the most powerfully sung songs ever. And I know I turned you onto the movie, Rob.
You did. You know, the first time I ever heard music, we were coming back from that camera store. You're playing it for me.
That's right.
And because of you, I just happened to be at Best Buy, and there it was, a lonely steel book on an end cap with nothing else around it. There was Greatest Showman on sale. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to buy this.
I'm so glad.
Took it home, watched it with Elizabeth, and we were just transfixed. I love the film.
Opened to $8.8 million. Obviously, this movie's a huge flop. Goes on to make $434 million.
That's the kind of success story you want. I love that story.
Yeah, love that story. All right, let's move on here. James Lockman also writes, sends in a really large super chat. Thank you for supporting the channel on that level, James, as you always do, man. I really appreciate that. Aloha, John. Tonight, the popcorn and drinks are on me. I'll be watching the 10 p.m. showing of Joker here in Honolulu. Well, now I'm actually really super jealous that you're in Honolulu. I've never been to Hawaii.
What?
I've never been to Hawaii.
Dude.
Never been. My wife has been. My wife's been everywhere. She's traveled a lot. I have never been to Hawaii. My wife keeps trying to talk me into going to Hawaii.
You got to go hike Diamond Head in Hollywood.
Everybody tells me. All my friends have gone to Hawaii too. I got to go. But
you got to go to the North Shore. You could be a Howley bra from the North Shore. It'd be great.
But listen, James. Yeah, man. Today, actually, just a few hours from now, going to be going out there, watching some Joker. I'll do my reaction right after that. I will, thank you, have a little bit of butter with my popcorn, or really have some popcorn with my butter, and a soda on you. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, that man. I appreciate that. I hope you like it. And everybody, don't forget, again, Sunday, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I'm going to be doing my live open Joker spoiler discussion. Make sure you guys put that down in your calendar and join us in. And thanks a lot for that, James. I really appreciate it, man. All right, Jared Oberfeld writes, favorite story of a troubled production. Mine is the ambitious Waterworld. That is a great story. But I think, and I bet you anything Rob is thinking the exact same movie I am. For me, it's got to be Apocalypse Now. I mean, that's just like iconic.
And one of the great documentaries too, Hearts of Darkness.
Yes, that goes into documenting the whole thing.
My favorite thing in that documentary is, they need the Philippine Air Force helicopters to shoot these scenes, but they get called away for an insurgency. They're actually fighting insurgents. And Coppola's just like watching the helicopters flying away when he has to do his shots. And I'm just like, man, I can't even imagine what that was like being involved in that production. A typhoon destroyed their sets. Martin Sheen had a heart attack. I mean, it's insanity.
But the Waterworld one is also really
Incredible.
Interesting. And if you have not you really do need to take Jared's advice here. If you don't know much about it, I would encourage you, go to YouTube, search online, look for, because it's a fascinating story. But yeah, man, Apocalypse Now has got to be the king of that one. All right. We still got a bunch of time here. Let's keep going here. Vincent Gomez writes, going to see Joker tonight here in New York City, and looks like I'm going to have some company. Deadline reports that the New York City Police Department is going undercover at Joker screenings. Hey, listen, whenever the movie itself does not promote this, but there are idiots who want to try to take advantage of it. And whenever there's any kind of a threat, no matter how small it is, it's the job of certain people to try to take extra precautions. And I'm all for it. I'm all for it. There's anything ever wrong with when it comes to people's security, taking some extra precautions. So I'm all good for it. So I think that's great. All right, Riley Ostoj writes, for the Alliance, a little World of Warcraft in there. Hey, John, I'm getting into World of Warcraft this weekend and could use some advice. Is there any specific class you would recommend for a beginner? My first one was a mage, because I like being able to fight from a distance in the game. But what I've been told by most people is that the simplest one to do is go with a straight warrior class, where you're actually just going with, you got your tank going in there with the sword and everything. That can be fun and enjoyable. And it's probably the easier one to do than trying to figure out all the spell channels and everything. But I'm playing one right now. Rob, I never did know. Did you ever get into World of Warcraft yourself?
I have never once played World of Warcraft.
Really? Never have I ever.
But I do. I know who Leroy Jenkins is.
One of the greatest things on YouTube ever produced.
I didn't even know what when I watched that, I thought that was. I couldn't stop laughing when I first saw that.
But dude, I'm telling you what, I'm telling you right now,
stay away.
Would be obsessed with that game. You would be.
Every time I start, I know there's been online games that I've MMORPG games.
But I'm telling you, World of Warcraft is like designed for you. I think you would totally. You can play the first 20 levels for free. I'm just saying, if you ever want to download and try it.
Oh man, I get sucked
and it does have a Mac version. It runs great on a Mac. Just saying. Okay, for the Alliance, as Riley said. All right. Although I am playing a horde character right now, I'm playing an undead mage named Darth Filthy, is the name of my character right now. So anyway, Damien Dornford writes, happy Joker week. It's Joker Day, my friend. I'm listening to the 89 Batman piece, Waltz to Death, the fight/dance scene in the cathedral. What's one of your favorite film scores? Honestly, despite the fact that, look, the all-time greatest forever and ever, man, John Williams, like, you can pull out any one of 20 or 30 of his scores and his main themes, and you know exactly what the movie is, and you'll be able to hum along with it immediately and all that kind of stuff. But to me, the best score is a score that infuses itself in the movie, the texture of the movie itself, and the score becomes a character in and of itself and highlights what the emotions are that we're supposed to be feeling, all that kind of stuff. That's one of the reasons why I was actually thrilled with Black Panther's win for Best Score, because everybody talks about the soundtrack for Black Panther, but the real strength of that movie's music was its score. But my all-time favorite is The Lord of the Rings. Like the moment I hear any bars, ba 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 ba, as soon as I hear any of the bars to that music, my heart, my soul is immediately flooded with all the emotions I was feeling when watching those scenes that it was attached to. And so for me, my overall favorite score actually isn't Star Wars overall. It's actually Lord of the Rings. Rob, what about you?
Well, you know, those are, to me, those big scores are kind of obvious. But if I was going to say one of my favorite scores of all time is Star Trek The Motion Picture. Jerry Goldsmith's Star Trek The Motion Picture score. It brought Star Trek back. It was amazing. They used the theme for Star Trek The Next Generation. But here's a score. I'm going to go a little off the reservation. There is a score for Michael Mann's first feature film, 1981's Thief. It's a crime movie starring James Caan.
I've never seen it.
It is so good. Michael Mann, who made Heat and Last of the Mohicans. It's his first theatrically released feature. And the German electronic band Tangerine Dream does the score for Thief. And go online, and the opening of Thief, it's like 9 minutes long. You can watch the opening of Thief, and there's a piece of music called Diamond Diary. That's the first piece on the soundtrack that Tangerine Dream does. It's a 9-minute piece of music, and you'll see the perfect melding of modern electronic music and motion picture. And I love the score to Thief.
Sounds intriguing, man. I've never seen that or heard of that.
You would love the movie.
I'll have to check it out. Jacob Cameron writes, your Todd Phillips video was spot on. You are officially the sanest man in America. Well, thank you for that. And for those of you who are curious, it is up on my YouTube, my Thoughts on Walks video talking about the Todd Phillips comments yesterday. It is up on the front page of my YouTube channel. Just got to scroll down a little bit. You'll find it there if you're interested in seeing that. Thank you for the kind words, Jacob. Main Man Cam 7 writes, if I wanted to start a movie reviews, where can I find review embargo dates and times? Found you completely on accident looking for something on here way back in 2013 in the AMC days, and now I'm a Patreon. Well, thank you, Main Man Cam, for being a Patreon supporter, and thanks for being around since the AMC Closet days. It's good to have you along, my friend. Now, as far as you want to become a movie reviewer, good on you. I think more people should get involved in the online movie space and add their voices to the conversation. Where can you find review embargo dates? You can't. There's no depository online. But here's what happens. If you've paid to go see a movie, there's no review embargo. Unless you're at an advanced press screening, which they will tell you. If you are invited to an advanced press screening, they will tell you if there's an embargo date. All right? They will tell you if there's an embargo date. But if you go opening night to a movie, there are no embargoes. Once the movie is playing for the public, there are no embargoes. So just if you ever get lucky enough that you get around to start being invited to press screenings, which don't ask me how to get invited to press screenings, but if you ever do get to the point that you're getting invited to press screenings, they will let you know if there's a review embargo date. There is no IMDb for review embargo dates. The thing you just get told by the studio for that particular movie. So keep your eyes open for that, and good luck on you, man. Do it. It's fun. Who cares if you get 5 viewers or 5,000? It doesn't matter. Do it because it's fun and add your voice to the online conversation, my friend. All right. Slim Trav. Oops, took a big jump here. Hold a second. Rob, oh, it's already past 10:30. Did you guys split, Rob?
I do.
All right. Rob.
But I'm coming back later.
But you're coming back later. So I'm going to meet me by like 3:40 in front of the theater there.
Okay, the movie's at 4?
The movie's at 4.
Exciting.
Here we are making our personal plans while the show's going on. Robert Meyer Burnett, ladies and gentlemen, the master of fun and wonder, our existential Mr. Rogers. Listen, where can people find you and your glorious stuff online?
You could find me on Twitter at BurnettRM, find me on Instagram at RMBurnett, or find me on my own YouTube channel, The Burnettwork, or its adjacent website, theburnettwork.net.
All right, and we will see you on here again tomorrow, and we're looking forward to that. And I will see you in just a couple of hours as we go to see the Joker. All right,
Very
guys.
excited, John.
We still got some time here amongst just ourselves, so let's keep things rocking and rolling here. We now go over to Slim Trav, who writes, thoughts on We Are Your Friends with Zac Efron. Not a very good movie. Not a very good movie. I like Zac Efron. I like the performance he brought into it, but I thought it was pretty much a waste of a movie, to be honest with you. Darth Sidious writes, hey, John and crew, if this year is the Mouse House's year, then isn't next year going to be DC's year? No, I don't think so. Look, they got two things coming out. One looks fantastic with Wonder Woman 84, just because that's Patty Jenkins directing it again. So I'm just assuming that movie's going to be great. Then we've got the Harley Quinn Birds of Prey movie, which I don't think I've never understood why they even made that movie. Then the first trailer came out, did not like the first trailer. So I don't know that one movie makes it your year. Yeah, I mean, this was Disney's year because they have like 6 or 7 of these huge things. I don't think next year is DC's year. No. I think they could have a decent one depending how good Wonder Woman is, but I don't think it's like their year. You know what I mean? Zombatron 5678 writes, to be honest, I think Doctor Strange 2 makes $1 billion. I'm not so sure about that. Similar to Spider-Man, he was a key figure in Infinity War and Endgame. Well, yes and no. Remember a couple things. The first Spider-Man movie, Homecoming, made well over $800 million. And so I thought, yeah, that's close enough. I think the next one will be pushed over $1 billion. And it did. The first Doctor Strange, remember, Doctor Strange has less appeal to the general movie-going audience than, say, a character like Spider-Man. I loved Doctor Strange, and I like this character a lot. But do I think it'll make more than its $600+ million that it did in its first one? Yes, I think it will make more than the $600+ million. But do I think it's going to jump almost double to the $1 billion mark? I don't think so. It's not impossible. It's not impossible, but like there was a good $200 million difference between what the first Spider-Man did and the first Doctor Strange did. And Doctor Strange is a character that's a little bit more for the more hardcore geeky of us than the average movie-going audience. So I think it's going to be wildly successful, but I don't think it'll be $1 billion film. But hey, I never thought Venom would make $800 million. Look what happened. All right. Next up, Dylan Fontaine writes, Joker only 1 point from losing certified fresh. Who cares? I mean, look, all I know is that the majority, let me bring it up here. Joker, Rotten Tomatoes. Here we go. So right now, it is sitting at 70%, which is a good score. I mean, that's like 7. That means the majority of the critics are liking it. But listen, I haven't seen the movie, so I can't agree or disagree with that rating. You haven't seen the movie, unless you have, but if you're in the US, you haven't seen the movie yet either. So you can't agree or disagree with whatever the rating is yet. But hey, the good chunk majority of the critics are loving it, so it's all good to me. All right, let's see here. That was Dylan. All right, Robert Tari writes, Top 10, number 1, Toy Story 2. Great movie that they weren't even going to put out in theaters originally. Remember, Toy Story 2 was originally going to be a straight-to-home video movie. And then they said, this movie's really good. We should put it in theaters. Star Wars. Number 3, Jaws. Number 4, Pinocchio. Really? That's the first time I think somebody put Pinocchio up there. I like that. Number 5, Donnie Darko. Number 6, The Dark Knight. Number 7, Breakfast Club. Don't you forget about me. Anyway, number 8, Pulp Fiction. Number 9, Clerks. See, Clerks 2 is my favorite, but I do love Clerks. Number 10, The Wizard of Oz. You know, not a lot of people, considering how much of a classic that one is, Robert, I'm surprised more people don't put Wizard of Oz up there. Nice list, my friend. Well done. All right. Gojira Skywalker writes, Greetings, John and Rob. Seeing Joker tonight at the AMC Dine-In located in Fullerton. Nice. I've never been to that one. I'm especially excited because it's my first time. I'm assuming you mean your first time to an AMC Dine-In. By the way, Dine-In theaters are the best. And AMC Dine-Ins are really good. Now, I've never been to the one in Fullerton myself. I've been to the one in Marina Del Rey. I've been to the AMC Dine-In in Marina Del Rey. I think they've got one in Hollywood now, I believe. Anyway, but I've not been to that one either. It's a great experience. You get to go see a highly anticipated movie while going to an AMC Dine-In. That's a pretty good thing. So have a good time, Gojira. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful time. All right. Taylor Garian writes, John, my only issue with Rey being a child of the Force is that The Force Awakens made such a mystery of her heritage. See, I disagree. Well, by the way, a child of the Force, I don't mean she was immaculately conceived. I mean, she, just like every other Jedi for generations previously, they just were born Force sensitive. That's the way it's always been. See, the funny thing, Taylor, is I came out of the first time I watched The Force Awakens, I came out and I did a video. I said, this movie makes it very, very clear that she is not anybody's particular child, nor is it important who her heritage is. I mean, who she is a mystery, but who her parents are, to me, again, I'm just saying, as a viewer, I came out of that movie and I did a video. I think we were still at AMC at the time. I came out and I did a video. Guys, the movie makes it clear she's not anybody's kid. I mean, she's somebody's kid, but not anybody of note. That was my first thing. I always thought the mystery about what is it special about her, but not who are her parents. I never thought that it made an issue of that. And again, I'm just saying that was my first reaction coming out of the theater. My first reaction out of the theater, guys, the movie made it obvious that who her parents are is irrelevant. At least I thought it did. Other people disagree with me, and that's cool. But anyway, that was just my thought on that, Taylor. It'd be interesting to see where they go with episode 9. It really will. Taylor Guerin also follows up with, by the way, go New York Rangers. Go Leafs, go! By the way, my Leafs right now are undefeated. That's all I'm saying. My Leafs are undefeated. Man, one of my favorite teams of all time, obviously the Leafs, period, but it was that one year that you guys had Messier, and he guaranteed you guys would win the cup. Great. I still believe Mark Messier is the greatest professional sports leader ever. When you look up some stories about Mark Messier and what he would do in the dressing room, in the locker room, and how he led his team, I think he is the single greatest leader in professional sports history. He's not the all-time greatest hockey player, but he was great. He's Hall of Fame, but he was the all-time greatest leader, and that's why I was enamored with that Rangers team that year. Anyway, that's just me. Okay, Cinema Reviews writes, making Rey a clone would make her arc about being an individual, which goes against her arc about belonging, as does making her a legacy character. I disagree. I don't think it goes against the arc of her sense of belonging. If anything, finding out that she is a clone, if anything, really speaks to that natural sense. Now, I'm not saying she is a clone, by the way. Let's be very clear about that. I'm just saying if they went in that direction, I believe that actually speaks to her sense. That could be at her very genetic core. Speak to why she's always felt a need and a want for belonging and feeling like she has no real belonging in the universe on that level. It would actually speak to it, I believe, Cinema. So that's my point of view. I'm not saying my point of view is the right point of view. I'm just saying when I look at it like that, that's how I see it. So we'll see. We'll see. I think there's like a 30% chance they see she's a clone, which means I believe it's most likely she's not. But I think there's a chance, and if it is, I think there's some interesting things you can do there that aren't contradictory to what they've already set up. But anyway, that's just the way I see it. Casinema also follows up with and writes, we already sort of have a legacy arc in Ben Solo. Sort of yes, sort of no. I mean, there's DNA traces of legacy elements, but listen, what's wrong with incorporating legacy? I don't think there's any limit to how much, it's just as long as you draw in the right legacy elements, then I think you're good. But anyway, that's just the way I see it. All right. David Rainey writes, what do you make of the fact that Disney is co-financing Spider-Man per the THR Tom Holland story, 25% profit and financing? Again, we've talked about this many times. Variety is saying it's not a co-financing deal. Deadline is saying it is a co-financing deal. I reached out to somebody at Sony and they told me, again, I'll just bring this up for a second because we used it on the show the other day, so I still have it here. I actually wrote to somebody who is in a position to know and asked them what's going on. What's going on? I wrote them specifically, hey, I was wondering about the Spider-Man announcement. Did Sony in fact do a co-financing deal with Disney? Does this compromise Sony's control over the character? Just curious because it seems like a bit of a reversal of direction. Cheers. They wrote back to me. Now take this as you will. They wrote back to me, and I don't know how accurate this is or whatever. It is not a co-finance deal in the traditional terms. In this case, Sony has not compromised its rights with the Spider-Man or its adjacent characters. Hope all is well. Okay, so what does that mean? Because in a straight up co-financing deal, Disney gets some ownership over that movie they're making. Ownership is something Sony could never allow to be given over to Disney. And that's why I said they can never do a co-financing deal. So then when the Variety article came out, it didn't say co-finance. It said they were going to put up some of the money. And we've spoken ad nauseum about the difference between other companies coming along and putting up some money versus an actual legit co-financing agreement. There's a big difference between the two. Lots of them. Anyway, but we won't go into all that again. But because you had reputable places like Deadline actually using the term a co-financing agreement, I'm like, okay, well, what the hell did you guys just do? What I'm being told is it is not a co-financing. Notice also they didn't say it's not a co-financing deal. They said it's not a co-financing deal in the traditional terms. I don't know what the hell that means. The only thing that I think is important is them saying that Sony, in this deal, Sony actually doesn't give up any ownership rights. That's the important thing. Because in a traditional co-financing deal, you are giving up ownership rights. It sounds like they didn't give up co-financing or they didn't give up ownership rights, and it's not a co-financing deal in the traditional terms. But again, I don't know what the hell that means. So where we're at right now, who knows? But like I said, over the past week, David, we've talked about this ad nauseum. So that's where we're at right now. All right, Frankie Gouge writes, spiritual sense, Rey may be reincarnated. I don't think that's what Chris meant by that. I think he just meant in the more metaphysical, like, who is she? Not who are our parents, but inside, who is she? That's what I think he meant by that. I don't think he meant as in a reincarnation or something actually spiritual. I think he was just using that term reflectively. All right, Casinma Reviews writes, did everyone just forget about Maz's speech in The Force Awakens? Yeah, Maz's speech is exactly why I said this. Maz's speech is exactly why I came out saying that speech makes it clear. Well, number one, it made it completely clear that she was not Luke's kid. It made it absolutely clear that she's not Luke's kid when you actually go over word by word and what the statement was. And to me, led me to believe that she's not anybody's kid of significance. So that was my thoughts on that. And it was specifically, it's funny you bring up Maz's speech, because it was specifically that speech that made me believe that. All right, Hoser Miaz writes, Rey will take the last name of the Skywalker. That's possible. She may take on the name as a mantle. I also believe, and there are others who believe too, that the rise of Skywalker could be that this new generation of Jedi will no longer be called Jedi, but rather be called Skywalkers. That if you are this new breed of Force user, no longer do they use the name Jedi, they use the name Skywalkers. I don't know that that's what they're doing, but that's just what I suspect. We'll have to wait and see. Eric Watson writes, my top 10. Braveheart, love that movie. It's got to be on more people's top 10s. Alien, Good Morning Vietnam. If it wasn't for Michael Douglas having one of the greatest performances of all time in Wall Street that year, Robin Williams would have had his second Academy Award. Now, he didn't have one yet, but he would have won his first Academy Award that year for Good Morning Vietnam if it wasn't for Michael Douglas and his playing Gordon Gekko and winning for Greed is Good, Greed Works speech in Wall Street. That won him the Academy Award. But if it wasn't for that, Robin Williams would have had not one, but 2 Academy Awards, I guarantee, because he was nominated for that. Anyway, Ferris Bueller, Tombstone, Scream. It's funny, we were just talking about Scream earlier. The Princess Bride, Top Gun. Somebody else mentioned Top Gun today. That's interesting. Got me to join the Navy. That's cool. That's excellent. That's really cool to hear. The Lion King 94 version and Star Wars, the original trilogy. It is amazing because, I talk about how Star Wars really influenced the direction I took my life. It not only just specifically towards movies, but wanting to be involved in things creatively was because of the imagination expanding experience of watching Star Wars. So it's funny that you had the exact same kind of thing, Eric, where a movie that was really important to you, Top Gun, it inspired you in the directions you took in your life as well. The power of storytelling, man. The power of storytelling in its ultimate form, the movies, it's amazing. So thank you for sharing that story, Eric. I appreciate that, man. All right. Sunny Claire writes, if you had a say in what direction would you like Matrix 4 to go? Continue the story from Revolution, altered reboot like Dark Fate? Personally, I don't really care about the next Matrix for a number of reasons. Number one, Matrix 2 and 3 all went downhill, and I have not been impressed with the work that the Wachowski siblings have done since Matrix, at all. I straight up hate a couple of films that they made. I think they got lucky with the first Matrix, to be honest with you. Now, I hope to get proven wrong. I totally hope to be proven wrong, and I will see Matrix 4, and I'll be cheering for it. But I actually don't have a lot of interest in Matrix 4 for those reasons. If I had my choice and they came to me, hey, should we continue? I vote continuation. Where are we now? Decades later, what's the condition of the world now at that point? So that's what would be my personal choice, Sonny. But again, I'm not all that invested in it, to be honest. All right, Jason Espinoza writes, Tom Holland, Dance Magic Dance. We talk going back to how much did he use the power of his hypnotic dancing to convince Sony and Disney to come back to the table? Maybe that was his power, Jason. The Bearded One writes, have you seen the Richard Jewell trailer? No, that's the new Clint Eastwood directed movie. The trailer dropped today, and I saw that it dropped today just as I was getting ready to start the show, and I did not have time to watch it yet. But it's Clint Eastwood, so I'm damn interested. So, but no, I haven't watched it. I got to watch that probably as soon as we're done the show here. I'll probably get over and take a look at it. Brian Esparza writes, it's gotten so frustrating being a Star Wars fan, not because of the films. I love the films, but because a lot of the quote unquote fans are so hateful and toxic. Yeah, listen, a number of people mentioned that. What I don't understand, I get this much. I get not liking a movie. And I get I got some of my best friends who are Star Wars fanatics that really don't like The Last Jedi, like hated them. But here's the thing. Every time we get together and talk, the first thing that comes out of their mouths every single day is not Star Wars and The Last Jedi. I hate a movie. I'll do a review of it. I'll talk about it on the show, and then we move on. Now, if somebody wants to bring it up and ask me about the movie again, I will mention my opinion again, but I will not make 7 videos every single month about what's a recent movie I hated? Let's just go back to Assassin's Creed, which I thought was terrible. I won't continue a year and a half later still putting up 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blog posts, podcast episodes, YouTube videos about why I hate Star Wars now and why Star Wars sucks now. And it's like, now you're just obsessed. And maybe you need to just get over it, you know? Look, when it comes up and somebody asks you, what do you think about this? Give your opinion. Look, the prequels. I don't like the prequels. So when it comes up, I will mention, I personally hate the prequels, but I celebrate that anybody else loves them. If you love the prequels, that's awesome. I think they're terrible, but if you love them, that's great. But I'm not going to make 5 videos every week about, week 1 video, how George Lucas ruined Star Wars with the prequels. Week 2, how Jar Jar Binks is the worst thing since Adolf Hitler. Week number 3, why midichlorians ruined our childhood. Week number 4, you got to move on from it, And it is unfortunate, but you got to keep in mind, Brian, they are the minority, right? Even amongst the people who didn't like The Last Jedi, or any of the new Star Wars movies for that matter. Of all the people who didn't like The Last Jedi in that, those people are the minority of them. The vast majority of the people who didn't like The Last Jedi and don't like the current Star Wars movies, the vast majority of them are just regular film fans who saw the movie, it didn't work for them, they didn't like it. If you ask them about it, they'll tell you they didn't like it, but they don't go out of their way to try to ruin the experience for everybody else. And there are just simply people out there who are on a diehard mission to not only hate something themselves, they want to get other people to hate it too. And if you won't get on board with them hating it, they will try to just ruin the experience for you too. It's unfortunate, but they are the minority. The vast majority of people who don't like those movies are just good film fans who just didn't like it because it didn't work for them. And we got to make sure never to lump those people in with that small minority. So just keep that in mind because it's not fair to do that. So let's just keep that in mind. All right. Next up, Jeree Manion writes, just wanted to say thank you for your show. Well, thank you for being here and being part of the show. I appreciate that, man. Kid Draco writes, New York Police Department placing undercover cops at Joker screenings. That was brought up a little bit earlier. Again, anything that gives extra precaution to people's safety, I think is a good call. Why not? It's a good thing. I don't think it's the worst thing that they didn't, but I think it's a nice thing that they do. All right. Only got time for a couple more, guys. Because today is Joker Day and I got a bunch of things I got to do before heading out of here to go see it this afternoon. We're going to have to cut today's show a little bit shorter than normal, so I'm only got time for a couple more quick ones here. Doshi writes, I think Emperor returns because he attached his soul to Vader's helmet, and the line from Kylo Ren, I will finish what you started, is about the Emperor, not Vader. No, that's not true. Because he specifically says grandfather, right? Kylo specifically references grandfather. And to go beyond that, as Rey was searching into his mind, the person he is obsessed with, she goes, "You're afraid you'll never be as powerful as Darth Vader." That was a terrible Ray accent I just did, by the way. I don't. That sounded awful. Anyway, so the movie made it pretty clear that he was very specifically thinking about talking about Vader. But I mean, hey, that doesn't discount the possibility of your theory, Doshi, about maybe that they, are they really going to go the Harry Potter route? Lord Voldemort attached his spirit to 7 Horcruxes. Was it 7? I can't remember. Horcruxes. Is that what it is? Is that what they're doing? That the Emperor is Voldemort and Vader's helmet is his Horcrux? Is that what it's called, by the way? Horcrux? I'm not a huge Potterhead. I think that's what it was called. Anyway, I don't know if they'll go that route, but it's not impossible. Not impossible. All right. Raymond Verada writes, with the record comic book office of 2020 and 21, it's the end of the human race. All the fanboys will be in the theaters. No more babies, mass hysteria. Yeah, it is. It's going to be a big year. Look, I don't think there's any of those comic book movies, not Batman, not Spider-Man, not Thor, not Suicide Squad, not Doctor Strange. I don't think any of those movies are $2 billion movies or anything like that, or even $1.5 billion movies. But I mean, I don't even know how many of them will actually be $1 billion films. Maybe 1, maybe 2. But it's going to be a great year because I'm fascinated by all of those. With a James Gunn directed Suicide Squad, sign me up. Shang-Chi, sign me up. Matt Reeves' Batman, sign me up. Thor Love and Thunder, sign me up. Doctor Strange, I hate multiverse, but still, it's Doctor Strange and I love Doctor Strange. Sign me up. It's going to be a fun year, man. It's going to be a fun year. All right, listen, guys. For everybody else, from the M Cluster and Stage Master and all the rest of the way down, do not worry. I will get to your questions in our next companion video. I'm going to gather up your questions here. They will not be lost, and I will answer them in the next companion video. That may or may not be today. I might not get around to doing it today because it is Joker Day, but at the very, very latest, it'll be done tomorrow. So keep your eyes open for that. I'm just going to take a quick glance to see if there's any oversized super chats that I should get to, and there is one. Angela Dashner, I just want to make sure that's the last one. It is. All right. Angela Dashner sends in a ridiculously large super chat. Thank you, Angela, for supporting the channel on that level. I and everybody here thanks you for that. Thank you so much, Angela. Angela writes, thanks for everything you do. Well, thank you for being here. Just wanted to say thank you and let you know that you make my day better. Can't wait to see The Gentleman. Oh, God. That trailer is so good. Can't wait to see The Gentleman. Think it's one of the movies I am most looking forward to. What movies are you looking forward to most that is coming up? Well, again, thank you, Angela, for that. And thank you for being part of here. And that is the power of the movies and the movie fan community. You know, I get talking movies with people and it just makes my day better. I'm able to jump onto an online conversation with people talking about movies. It just makes my day better. I get to go see a movie. It just makes my day better. That's the power of the movies and the movie fan community. And I'm glad that you get to be a part of it, Angela. The movies I'm really look, obviously, we got a couple of big ones coming up here this year. We got Star Wars, which I'm so stoked about. Today is Joker and all that kind of stuff. But let's focus in on what you just talked about, The Gentleman. That was a movie I had heard about, but frankly, I'd put out of my mind and completely forgotten about until the trailer dropped out of nowhere. And that trailer was absolute magic to me. Absolute magic for me. I fell in love with it because I am a huge fan. We've talked about this on the show before. I am a big, big fan of Guy Ritchie's, a couple of Guy Ritchie's in particular, previous work. I mean, rock and roll is, yeah, but to me, it's Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, and especially Snatch. I love those things. Love those things. I think they're absolutely amazing, and I love them. And to see this trailer, I immediately felt like I was being those same feelings and that same fun I had watching particularly Snatch, but also Lock, Stock. I'm watching this trailer and I'm getting those same feelings over again. And I love these ones that just kind of jump up out of nowhere, grab me by the throat and get my attention. And Gentleman is certainly it. Charlie Hunnam looks great in it. Crazy Rich Asians boy, Golding, he looks great in it. I mean, just the whole cast looks great. It's got that phonetic and kinetic kind of feel to it that a classic Guy Ritchie film has that I love, that sharpness, that quickness, that dialogue. And I'm especially so excited to see him go back to something like this coming off of Aladdin, which I love Guy Ritchie, but I thought Aladdin was a strange choice. I really thought him as the director for Aladdin was a strange choice. I ended up loving the movie, and now him coming out of Aladdin and going right back into something like The Gentleman, I think is awesome. So I am dying to see that movie, dying to see it. All right, guys. That will do it for me. Again, everybody else who sent in their super chats, do not worry. We are going to get around to all of your questions. They will be in the next companion video. Keep your guys' eyes open for that. But that will do it for me for today, guys, for this installment of the John Campea Show. Of course, it's the Joker day. I got to go do some stuff and then get myself ready to go see Joker. I will, of course, keep your eyes on the channel, guys, because a little bit later this afternoon, after I see the movie, I will be putting up my quick 1 to 2 minute response, my quick reactions coming right out of the theater on Joker. I will put that up a little bit later today. Keep your guys' eyes open for that. All right. Thank you to all you guys for being here. My name is John Campea. Thanks for everything. And until next time, bye-bye.